Good afternoon, my Real News Media TV family. Welcome back to the channel for another news update for March 24, 2024. And in the news this afternoon, 11 arrested after gun seized at a Manchester bar. 11 people, including a bartender, were arrested on Saturday night following the seizure of a firearm at a bar in Green Street, Knockpatrick, Manchester. A police source said about 10:30 p.m. a raid was conducted at the bar and a Smith & Wesson firearm found in a bag. With no one accounting for the weapon, 10 men who were patrons and the female bartender were arrested. Police said investigations were ongoing up to early Sunday morning into the incident. This latest seizure brings it to 6 the number of firearms seized in Manchester so far this year. On Friday, a woman and a man were arrested in connection with another gun seizure in the parish. Government remains committed to victims of gender-based violence, says Grange. Minister with responsibility for gender affairs, Olivia Grange, says that the government continues to provide assistance to victims of gender-based violence. A joint select committee of Parliament is to review the domestic violence bill to strengthen the provisions. Ms. Grange says that the helpline and the shelters have provided assistance to people in need.
The GBV Helpline Unit provides support for both female and male victims, with over 8,965 clients who have been supported to date. The National Strategic Action Plan for the Elimination of Gender-Based Violence in Jamaica paves the way for inclusive services, transcending societal stereotypes. Under the protection component of the NSAP GBV, since October 2020, 81 clients, including underage children, were accommodated and provided with comprehensive and holistic support at the 2 government-operated and government-owned shelters in the northeast and eastern regions across the parishes in rural communities.
Human rights lawyer pleads for understanding of plight of Haitian migrants. Attorney at law Malene Lane, founder of the human rights lobby group Freedom Imaginaries, says that while she understands the security concerns associated with wide-scale acceptance of irregular Haitian migrants, Jamaicans should be more welcoming to its Caribbean neighbors. Ms. Lane, during an interview with the news on Friday, said the public must extend compassion and be mindful of the current plight of Haitians. She said regional stakeholders must implement adequate measures to properly assess each individual case.
We should deal with them in the most Jamaican way I know, because, this narrative of fear and apprehension of strangers and all of that, that's not who we are as Jamaicans. That has never been who we are. Go into any community in Jamaica, we are welcoming people, we're loving people, and it is not our nature to reject persons seeking refuge at our shores in such a hostile and draconian manner. And so what I would say to Jamaicans is to just draw on the instincts that make us who we are. We have to do our security checks. We have to make sure that, those coming to our shores and who need protection get protection, and those coming to our shores who don't need protection but instead, are part of what the government likes to focus on as these, criminal networks, they be dealt with appropriately. But in a mixed migratory situation where you have some, asylum seekers, some may be victims of human trafficking, some may be, part of a criminal network. When you have that mixed pattern, you must have a very robust process to assess international protection needs, because what you don't want to happen is to inadvertently send back an asylum seeker who has a legitimate claim because you have categorized all Haitians coming to Jamaica as problematic.
No date is set to publish census findings. Exercise not complete, says Tatin. Despite updating the country on what it said were unprecedented challenges affecting the 2022 population and housing census, officials from the Statistical Institute of Jamaica were unable to confirm when the census will be completed and its findings published locally. At a press conference on Thursday, Statin's Director General, Coral Coy, explained that the data collection phase using contract workers has ended and efforts are being made to pay the workers, including census takers and supervisors. She said that the data collection phase was marred by the resignation and retirement of some key personnel, the attribution of census takers, issues relative to training and payment delays, lack of cooperation from some respondents, and the issues stemming from the proliferation of gated communities. Statin's Deputy Director General, Leisha Delatai-Buder, in responding to specific questions on the completion of the census, clarified the Institute's position relative to the national census. The census is not complete. What we have stopped is the main face-to-face data collection, she insisted. It was revealed that counting has been completed in 70% of the country's 6,111 enumeration districts, from which Statin required 7,000 people to collect data. The data collection process was set to be completed in December of 2022, after commencing in September of that year. However, various challenges saw the deadline being pushed to March of 2023, but counting remains ongoing. We are in the process right now of determining the post-enumeration activities, Delatai-Buder said. So for every round of census that has ever happened in Jamaica, you have the main data collection. Following the main data collection, what usually happens is that there is an assessment of the undercoverage, and if necessary, there's a supplementary activities, she explained. In noting the myriad of information in the public domain on the challenges relative to Jamaica's 15th census, Delatai-Buder noted that all countries have been having challenges with conducting their respective census exercises. In the last census, our Jamaica's coverage rate was 80-something%, but what we are seeing is that we are continuously assessing what's happening. We are continuously adjusting in light of the challenges that come up, and we are all ensuring that the conduct of the census is consistent with international standards and the best practices, she assured. Meanwhile, Delatai-Buder said that Statin will provide periodic updates on the process, especially at its quarterly press briefings. The census is still being processed, so at this point in time, we would not be releasing a data for the publication of census, she stated. In elaborating on the decision not to release a data for publishing the census, she said, "This census has been so unprecedented in the sense that there are so many unforeseen challenges that we have encountered that it would be premature of us to give a date right now. However, we promise to provide the updates at our quarterly press conferences," added Delatai-Buder. Based on the original timeline, the census was scheduled to be executed in April 2021. However, with the onset of the COVID pandemic, the census was postponed to 2022. 25-year-old charged for murder of man found tied up and shot on Hannah Street, Kingston. A 25-year-old man has been charged in relation to the death of another who was found with his hands and feet bound and with multiple gunshot wounds on Hannah Street in Kingston. Charged with murder, possession of prohibited weapon, unauthorized possession of ammunition, making use of firearm to commit a felony, and a conspiracy to murder is Donovan McFarlane, otherwise called the Diamond, of Upper Oxford Street in Kingston. Randy Wilson, 33, a plumber of Jones Pen, St. Catherine, was found dead on Saturday, March 16. The police report that about 9:05 a.m., residents stumbled upon a body and summoned them. Upon arrival, Wilson was seen on the ground with his hands and feet bound with a rope and with multiple gunshot wounds to the upper body. Police, acting on information, conducted an operation in the area, and McFarlane was subsequently arrested. He was later charged. His court date is being arranged.